This is not going to be easy after that video, right? Thank you so much, Levi. I appreciate your introduction. I want to begin with a quote from Elie Wiesel. There may be times when we are powerless to prevent injustice, but there must never be a time when we fail to protest. Elie Wiesel. I'm deeply honored to be here and thank MEMRI and the Tom Lantos Anti-Semitism and Holocaust Denial Archives for their important work and for inviting me to speak among such honorable people. As you saw, anti-Semitism is everywhere, lurking in the streets of Cairo as the revolution unfolds, in the alleyways of Karachi as drone attacks are deployed, in the minarets of Saudi Arabia as women are dismayed, in Damascus as tanks roll in, and in Tehran as the president calls for Holocaust denial. Anti-Semitism is everywhere, like smog that looms in the air, thick, dirty, and hard to breathe in. Even in Karachi, where I was born, the Jews are everywhere, although they have not lived there as a community in several decades. As a Pakistani-American woman, this is my challenge. And by now, the familiar themes of European anti-Semitism, the blood libel, the protocols of Zion, the international Jewish conspiracy, and the rest have become standard fare in much of the Muslim world. In the schoolroom, the pulpit, the media, and even at the butchers in the Defense Karachi marketplace, who I recall blamed the bird flu on Jews for spreading their disease. I was able to take the poster down and talk to them, but how can I talk to so many? But I am here today because I have a dream that many would find peculiar, but this dream is about humanity and dignity for the other. Dreams that can turn corners and make people think how one comes to places of conviction, protest, and witnessing. In 2007, I wanted to pay my respects to the victims of the Holocaust, so I visited Dachau. I remember praying at Dachau for the victims and thinking of the injustices that continue on, and I recall the fear in my body as I walked through the crematorium that so many deniers mock. As a Muslim, aware of the anti-Semitism and Holocaust denial in many parts of the Muslim world, I was dismayed, frustrated, and sad. And more importantly, I was troubled at the silence of non-Jews about anti-Semitism. And so here I am, doing, hoping, and working towards my dream. As I've journeyed throughout these issues for several years, there are certain silver linings and glimmers of hope that have found me by surprise amidst an isolated place. This lining of hope comes from my own professional life as a Muslim academic who teaches Islam at Manhattan College, a Catholic institution, and directs the Holocaust, Genocide and Interfaith Education Center. As a minority, I am privileged to hold these positions, but the crucial fact remains that I have dedicated my life to speaking out against anti-Semitism and Holocaust denial. Working hard to stop anti-Semitism, I've discovered that there are many positive ways to bring this education to the Muslim world through speaking the truth, rejecting the anti-Semitism, learning the history, and sharing the positive role of Muslims during the Holocaust. As Tom Lantos once said, we are optimistic, but we are optimistic in a cautious fashion. I too am optimistic in a cautious fashion. So with my cautiousness and optimism, I decided I wanted to meet with survivors. and interview them. I wanted to listen to them and talk with them about anti-Semitism. But then curiously, I found that talking with them, they wanted to know about me. They wanted to know about faith, the parallels between Jews and Muslims. They wanted to know about genocide. They wanted to know about Bosnia. They wanted to know about Sudan. They wanted to talk about the Holocaust. They were curious, and I have to admit, at times prejudice against Islam and Muslims. And that is something we had to discuss. On February 27th, 2010, I looked into the sky blue eyes of Albert Rosa, 85-year-old survivor for hours, as he spoke about his experience of the Shoah at Auschwitz-Birkenau. As I left him, he told me with his wit and teary eyes that he wanted someone to write his life stories since he had very little formal education. He asked me, how can I express in words how I felt when my sister was bludgeoned to death in front of me by an SS woman, or when I saw my elder brother hanging from a rope when I had tried to defend him. I looked into his eyes that had pierced in me all day. I wondered, how could I, as a Muslim, tell his story in words without losing the emotional strength and physical strength? He spoke of maggots crawling on his body as he was ordered to move the dead, the gold he stole from the bodies of the dead, the urine he saved to nurse his wounds from a Nazi German shepherd, the roots that he dug out with his fingers for nourishment, the ashes he swallowed from the crematorium as he built Birkenau. When I left Albert's home, I gave him a hug because my words of gratitude seemed incomplete. And he smiled as he hugged me back, and he said, "This is the first time I've ever hugged a Muslim woman." I told him that this should not be a surprise or the last time, since I said Muslim women are not so cold and segregated as you think. Albert and I exchanged the first step in dialogue by humanizing one another. My interviews with survivors and now friendships have taken a life of their own, where I'm no longer an interviewer, but in dialogue about Islam and the Holocaust. I had a dream of bringing Muslims and Jews together, and this dream is and will slowly come true, cautiously, but optimistically. We all know that because we live in the United States, where our dream or vision, or in Arabic, al-ruya, is one of faith, hope, and reconciliation with the other. We must take note of the extremists of all kinds amongst us, who are dreamless people, blinded by egos, and the path of zealots who create God's work as a deceitful work of human beings. And those of us that are faithful know there is no one who knows the work of God but God himself. As a Muslim, I am obligated by my faith, Islam, to speak out against false testimony and false rumors. The Quran, my Bible, states, "O you who believe, stand out firmly for justice as witnesses to Allah, even if it be against yourselves, your parents, your relatives, or whether it is against the rich or the poor." With Islamic principles in mind and my own ethical responsibility, I have to speak out against false testimony and rumors. My work is about the Holocaust and not the politics of Israel and Palestine, although I'm not afraid to discuss it. But because I hope that through this work, Jews through Muslim eyes and Muslims through Jewish eyes may be humanized, and Muslims can finally allow Jews their unique place in the list of terrible genocides. We must acknowledge that anti-Semitism has taken on many forms throughout the years. However, today, examples such as the ban on circumcision in Germany and certain laws that have been created to curb Muslim migrants in Europe impact Jews equally and perhaps even more. On the other hand, we witness Holocaust glorification in Middle Eastern media, some of which is state-owned and operated. Some have gone as far as to call to finish the annihilation of Jews, or Holocaust relativism, where some governments, museums, and academic institutions are comparing the Holocaust with other terrible human events. My dream continues, and my dedication to this will change the trend, I hope, cautiously and optimistically. Through my new initiatives and programs of Muslim American education of the Holocaust, and my own position as the only Muslim to head a Holocaust center at a Catholic college, and my writings as a Muslim who stands up to all injustices and discrimination against Jews and all people, many will have to listen to a Muslim woman who was touched by the soul of victims. I have a tough and challenging road, and perhaps in my lifetime, the silver linings of hope are the many people and friends that have invested in me their trust and vision. This is the dream that cannot end here, but will continue to revolutionize the minds of my Manhattan College students, my community in New York, and yes, my Muslims who do invest in me. In 2011, I sat with Elizabeth Mann, Hungarian survivor, in the Hertz Theater at the Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles. Riveted by her story as a survivor, it was deeply emotional, one of the most difficult moments of my life, as she sobbed about her guilt of letting her younger brother go into the gas chambers with her mother. I laid my hand upon her knee and squeezed her warmly. She said to me, "Mehnaz, I hope you don't take offense to this, but I'd like to say something to you." I smiled. I told her that she could say anything. And she continued without hesitation and said she believed in souls that linger on for thousands of years. And she thought that I might have a Jewish soul thousands of years ago. I smiled and said, "Perhaps." But as a Muslim, it was not surprising to me. My soul might have been Jewish. After all, we came from the same source, Abraham. Finally, I ask all of us to confront bigotry, but especially our leaders who hold the keys to change upon this famous Capitol Hill. We must eradicate this hatred with sensitivity to the others who are marginalized everywhere. We must sustain and create laws that uphold our principles of our own country as we people of the United States in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Thank you.